Greetings, friends. Today we are going to chat about your college pay it forward tour bus budget. Get excited. We have created this pretty snazzy doc here that will help let you know how much money you have to spend on your pay it forward tour in order to make it a awesome experience and a successfully financial program. So pretty easy here. All you got to do is open this doc up. You can change your date to whenever your departure day is. Talk about how many buses you have. In this specific example, we are going to talk about a one bus chapter or just budgeting for one particular bus. All right. So this column here, these numbers are mostly editable. You'll kind of know which ones are and which ones aren't. We can change the number of participants we have. 25. That is way low of a number. We expect all tours to have at least 38 people on them, paying customers. This price is really dependent on chapter, but our normal price as of the 2016-2017 academic year is $525. Some chapters do a early bird discount that you have agreed upon with the national office. So whatever this number is, we basically average it out. So let's do this. Let's say our chapter had an early bird price of $475. Okay, and then half of the people on our bus signed up with the early bird price, and half of the people signed up with a normal price of $525. Well, that would make our average $500. So that's going to be the average number that people paid. Okay. If we got any grants, so let's say we approached our student government and we applied for a grant and they give us $1,000. Great work. That is something that will really go above and beyond. All right. Average cost of tour per food. This number really shouldn't change. This is average cost per person per meal, all right? So $2.13 basically is what that comes out to. Now that may seem super cheap, but really what we're talking about here are bagels and fruit and kind of like granola bars for breakfast. We're talking about sandwiches and chips for lunch. So it's stuff that we can make healthy, but doesn't generally cost a lot of money. So this is what we generally average, $212 or $213 per bus. $50 in snacks. This can be stuff you have on the bus just laying around, whether that's gummy bears, fruit, XYZ. We generally budget about $50 for snacks. Bus driver tip. This really is not optional. We need to make sure our bus drivers are rewarded and taken care of for keeping you all safe for 9 days. So we generally suggest about $300. Now, sometimes chapters will not actually pay for a bus driver tip, but they will pass around a hat among their participants. And if everyone on your bus of 38 people throws in $5 to $10, that should equate to about $300. So that's another way of doing the bus driver tip, but factor it in there, $300. When you book your bus driver a hotel room for the night, in your first 5 cities, they're going to need a hotel room. We usually budget about $80 per night. So that'll get you a Best Western, that'll get you a Super 8, something that is quality, but isn't necessarily the Hilton or anything like that, where you're shelling out $150 per night. So keep this at around 80 if you can. This number doesn't necessarily change. The national office works with a company to get really great rates on your Celebration City hotels, but since it's not just your bus, it can be upwards of 8 or 9 buses. We go ahead and take care of that for you. So we budget about $95 per night for your Celebration City hotel room. The t-shirts, this also stays the same, about $185. We work through Will Enterprises, and they give us a pretty good rate of t-shirts for about $185. So we'll keep that the same. Enrichment. Now, if numbers are low, this is typically the first thing that gets cut. All right, so we budget about $10 per person for enrichment. Now, enrichment can be a lot of things. It can be admissions to a movie theater. It can be admissions to a museum. It can be admissions to a natural park. It's basically something fun you can do with your participant. But if numbers are low, if they're not at least 38, this is the first thing that gets cut. We would take that down to 0. All right, so if you have a full bus, 45 in the 40s, you can definitely budget about $10 per person for enrichment. Cost of the bus. This is a biggie. Out of about an $18,000 budget, your bus costs are going to be, close to 2/3 of that. So we usually budget around $10,000. Some of them will come in just under, some of them will be higher. It's basically due to mileage and where you're going and the time of year. So by this point, you should have your bus costs. If we are into, November, December, January at this point, so you can plug your actual true bus quote in right here. All right, financial aid. We budget in about $1,200 worth of financial aid per bus, okay? So this roughly equates to about 5 to 7 50% scholarships. This, a lot of people ask, where does this money come from? It's just worked into your budget. However, if you have low numbers, if we're working somewhere around the 30s or something like that, which, we may not even be able to send a bus out at 30, but financial aid would start to get cut. Maybe it would go down to only $600 worth of financial aid. Maybe it would go down to $200 or none. All right, but that's why we really need to see numbers of 38 or higher. Ideally, this beautiful number here of 45, and we'll see where that comes into play later. Okay, but let's say we just moved our numbers back up to 1,200. Other supplies, whether this is paper, pens, yarn, streamers, things like that, budget about $6,500. And then finally, the national fee. All right, this is how the national office supports you as our wonderful chapters. All right, this covers things like staff costs, travel expenses, trainings, the website, liability insurance, all the resources we have. This gives startup money to a lot of our chapters. If you need help covering a bus down payment, the national office can help you cover that. But in return, we ask for a minimum of a $5,200 national fee. If you have a great year, we ask that you pay it forward and really pay kind of above and beyond what you can. But we will discuss that actual number with you after the tour. We ask that you really do not change this number leading into that when you're playing around with your budget. And last, if you have any individual donations, let's say someone's parent graciously gave $250, you could enter that in here. All right, for the time being, we're just going to neutral that out. All right, I'm also going to neutral that grant out just so you can see where we're going from here. So let's say this is your basic cost. You have 45 people on your bus at an average of, where do we have it? We had an average of $500 that people were paying. You gave a full Nash fee of $5,200, which is great. Now we're going to scroll down here and see how we ended up. All right, we're going to the very bottom where it says surplus and deficit. And you had a really successful year. You actually made money for your chapter. Your bus made about $745 for your chapter because you had a full bus of 45. Even with the early bird discount where you averaged out to about $500, you still came out in the black with positive numbers. You still were able to give out $1,200 in financial aid. You were able to do enrichment there and things like that. All right, but here's where it gets tricky. All right, let's say you only had 38 people, which still is a great number, but you gave that early bird discount. You gave out a full $1,200 in financial aid. Let's scroll back down to 38 people. Your bus actually lost $2,000. You are $2,000 in the red, which is not a good thing. So we have to start doing some things to replace that. So like I said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut enrichment. All right, and maybe we're going to we're only going to be able to give about $800 in financial aid now. So let's see where we are there. Well, we're still losing money. It's not as much, but losing money is not a great thing for a nonprofit. So we're losing about $1,300 right now. So what else can we do? Well, I mean, the easiest thing we can do is get more people to sign up. So we're back up to 45. And hey, with that number, we just made our chapter $1,500. But let's just say 38 is the most we're going to get, okay? What do we have to do? Well, that's where the grants come in, all right? So we applied and we got a great grant from our university or from a local sponsorship. We got that $250 donation from someone's parents. Again, we're cutting out enrichment. Can't really change these things. The driver needs to get a tip. We need to pay for hotels for them. We're going to get shirts for our participants. What else can we do? Well, we can just be really, really conscious about the average cost of food. So let's say every town we go to, we get donated meals. So we literally don't have to pay for any meals the entire trip. All right, so I'm not going to say we don't have to pay for any more, but I'm going to budget it down to about $1.50 per person per meal because so much was donated. Let's see where we are there. All right, hey, we're pretty much break even because we got donated meals. We're at 181. All right, so play around with this. when you first get access to the doc, all the numbers are going to be our normal budget numbers, and so that's going to be about 45 people. That's going to be a standard cost of $525, but a $10,000 bus cost, a $5,200 NASH fee, and things like this. So this is a great way to play around to really get to know your budget. And if you have any questions, please contact the STLF National Office, either at programs@stlf.net, give us a call at 612-276-2003, or reach out to your NASH representative that's been working with you all year. Hopefully this helped. Like I said, if you have any questions, let us know. Yeah, buddy.